Thank you. I'm Mike Petrunak. I am one of the coordinators for Cambria County for the LIHEAP program. Thank you for coming today. So the first thing is that the season opened to the general public on November 1st, and the program will close on April 28th of 2023. That's the planned date. There are times when that may be extended, but currently the closure of the program is going to be April 28th. Preseason mailings were sent out in 3 phases beginning the week of September 6th. And these were for those households that received a LIHEAP benefit for the 21-22 LIHEAP season. Households did receive a summer fill supplement and utility supplement. The Department of Human Services issued a $500 supplemental payment to households that received a regular LIHEAP cash or crisis payment for deliverable fuel during the 2021-22 season. And they issued a $250 supplemental payment to households that received a regular LIHEAP cash or crisis payment for a utility during the 21-22 season. Now, the cash grant amounts this season is a minimum of $300 and a maximum of $1,000. These benefits or amounts are based on the annual income, number of household members, type of heating source, and the type of living arrangements in the region of the state. Now, one thing that I want to point out here that isn't on the slide, and this is very important, is that these numbers are not the same as last year. They are a bit lower. As we all know, the pandemic affected everything, and that included LIHEAP. So the minimum numbers especially were higher last year. And I can tell you right now, from experience, that has already caused some confusion with our consumers. We've had people calling saying, "Hey, I got more last year. Why am I getting less? My financial situation hasn't changed." It is that these numbers have reverted more to the normal level that we typically have. Okay. Another thing I want to point out about these the cash components specifically is these are once per season. Okay, so it is a situation where, and this is another thing that I have found through experience, is that if a person, say, comes to LIHEAP and they sign up and they get, say $300 in cash, and then later on they go to another agency who is going to, say, set them up with LIHEAP crisis through an application process. It is important to note that they're still only getting that cash payment once. So if you have a person who goes to another agency and they're like, "Oh, yes, and you'll get your initial, $300 payment, and then whatever is for crisis." Well, that is technically true if they didn't already receive it this season. So for those of you that work with our consumers closely on the front lines, you may want to double check that they actually haven't received LIHEAP already, because my experience has been often consumers get confused about where the money's coming from. Okay, so if there's 2 takeaways from this slide, it is that number is lower than it was previously as things kind of revert back to normal. And the other thing is it is a once per season payment. And even if they go through another agency, if that payment was already received, they're not going to receive it again. So the income limits for the LIHEAP program are 150% of the federal poverty income guidelines. And as you can see, the income limits are a little higher than they would be for most of our programs. So it does allow our consumers to have a little bit easier of a time accessing LIHEAP than they would, say, SNAP or medical assistance. Now the cash component of LIHEAP, the cash grants cannot be used to pay security deposits or meter installation fees. Cash grants can now be used towards tank setting fees and late payment fees if used to resolve a crisis. And cash grants cannot be used to pay on past balances for deliveries made prior to October 1st, 2022. Households that are renting with heat included or are non-related roomer will receive half of the LIHEAP benefit. And a household member can only receive one cash grant even if they move to a different address during this season. And that's also another important takeaway here. If someone moves during the season to another household and that household applies, essentially that person's income will count toward the household, but it will not. They will not be counted as a household member for the purposes of a benefit. Now, crisis component. Crisis opens on November 1st, 2022, and closes on April 28th, 2023. Crisis benefit amount is lower this season because of the special funding for COVID, but the minimum amount for a crisis is $25 and the maximum is $1,000. Now, crisis is for deliverable heating sources and shut-off notices for non-deliverable heating sources. And crisis monies will be authorized in conjunction with the cash benefit to fill the tank, not just meet the minimum delivery for the vendor. So we do make an effort, if we can, to actually fill that person's tank in the event of a crisis. But these payments cannot be used for previous deliveries to a home. Shut-off notices will be accepted until the start of the PUC moratorium period on December 1st, 2022. A crisis authorization is not to be considered an automatic $1,000 credit for the customer. For deliverable fuel, the vendor will bill for the actual amount of the crisis monies that was delivered. The customer should review their billing statement to know the amount of the crisis that was billed. And for a non-deliverable crisis, electric or gas, the County Assistance Office will only authorize the specific amount needed to avoid the shut-off. The customer will need to request the additional crisis monies that may not have been used at the time of the initial delivery. If not, then they may miss out on additional crisis help. So this again is an important takeaway here that LIHEAP is only going to cover what's there for the crisis. This is another source of confusion that our consumers have, is that, they ask for their crisis, they're going to get $1,000. No, if they need $400 to say, fill their tank, and then they need to call back when they're in crisis again to get whatever is needed to fill the tank again. And hopefully we'll have enough to, fill the tank. But they will not be able to just put that money on their account, and it goes it's the same for utilities as well. Now there is a weatherization component of LIHEAP. Crisis weatherization income eligibility limit is 150% federal poverty income guidelines. Households experiencing heating emergencies, such as a broken heating equipment or leaking lines that must be fixed or replaced, may be eligible for additional benefits through the LIHEAP Crisis Weatherization Program. In order for the referral to be made to the local Department of Community and Economic Development, Bedford Community Action, and Cambria Community Action, the household will need to contact the County Assistance Office to request the referral. Information required to avoid a delay in the application process includes a signed current program year LIHEAP application or a completed Compass application. Name, social security numbers, and income for all household members. Name and account number of their main heating source. Name and account number of their secondary heating source. So this would be electric only, which is needed to run the main heating source. And if they wish to have the LIHEAP benefit issued to this vendor. It does save a lot of time if we know, especially if they're somebody that, say, receives gas and electric. We may have two account numbers. We're going to need to know where that money is going. Otherwise, that does slow the process down significantly. Income verification for the month before the application was submitted is also needed. So, for example, application is submitted in November, October's pays would need submitted. Okay, this is just the general rule of LIHEAP. Again, from experience, this can be a source of confusion for our consumers. So we need the money that was received in that month, not the money that was earned in that month. We often will get pay stubs where they say, well, this is what I worked in September. We need to know what you received in September. One thing that I have told our consumers and advised individuals at other agencies is, if a client can always reapply, okay? So let's say somebody has, they make too much in September, and they know that they're, maybe they work seasonally, and their income is not going to be there in October. They can apply in November and use October's income. Or maybe they know they're completely out of income in say November, and they'll wait until December to apply using November income, which is non-existent. They can do that, okay? But they can they can reapply if they get rejected, okay? But once they're once we issue those benefits, especially the cash benefit, that's it. So a person can't receive benefits in November and then turn around in January and say, well, now I don't have any income, I need more. We have crisis for that, but we won't be able to increase the cash amount, okay? But we do use the month before the month that they applied. That is the rule that we follow. There are times when, if the client requests it, we can kind of do an entire annual study of their income. But most of the time, if they're, I guess you could say, cautious about when they submit that application and their income, that'll maximize what they can receive. And that is important for people to note, because if you submit an application on November 25th, you might have been better off if you just submitted the application on December 1st, because that's going to change the income that needs to be used. Okay, So it is valuable for consumers to know that. And I should also point out, before I change this slide, current program year LIHEAP application is very important. If we get one from last year or any previous year, we cannot use it. Okay? Forgive me, for some reason, the slide doesn't want to take over. There we go. So what is required by the applicant? Continued information required to avoid delay in the application process includes verification of their heating source, a bill from January of 2022 for deliverable fuel, and for non-deliverable fuel, a bill dated 2 months prior to the month of application. Now, I will say there, if we have the correct information, often for big, larger utilities like People's Natural Gas or Penelec, we're looking at a situation where we may be able to verify that information electronically. For deliverable fuel, we will attempt to reach out to the provider, but obviously it is fastest to just provide us with the documentation. If the household is currently receiving benefits, they can request to use the income we currently have on file. That's another important thing to be aware of. So all that stuff that I told you about being careful about the first month, the month that you apply, that is the other thing. If a person submits pay stubs, we're going to, need those. But if we have someone that's receiving benefits already, and they just had a renewal for, say, SNAP benefits in June, if they check the box on the application, we can use that June income, and they don't have to provide any additional information. That is, unless they provide us some sort of updated information, conflicting information that would be with the application. Say they changed jobs or something like that. But if nothing's really changed and they check that box, we can actually use that information. And again, that's something that makes things move a lot faster for processing their benefits. Now, how can someone apply? Compass, the My Compass PA mobile app, and of course, paper application. If they call our office, we are happy to mail them an application. They can also come by, pick one up. They can fill one out right in the office. But of course, it is probably most convenient to use the mobile app or go online and just go through Compass. And that'll often just a more convenient option for our consumers. So the benefits of applying through Compass. The Compass application is received in the assistance office the same day the application is completed online and sent. A verification checklist can be printed for required documentation. Required verification can be scanned to the individual's Compass account and sent to the assistance office. And households applying through Compass may receive an automated eligibility determination if the customer chooses to use income on file and there were no reported changes of the address or vendor. So that, again, much faster. We do have an automated system that, we'll try to weed out those applications and just kind of auto process them. I will say it is a work in progress sometimes. We have to still double check, but it does move things a lot faster than a traditional application. The My Compass mobile app, you can access benefits from anywhere at any time and review what benefits are being received, check the status of applications, upload documents, and report changes direct from the phone. And it does make the process a lot easier. We have had people just photograph documents, and as long as it's legible, we do need to be able to read the documents. But if they come through, that often speeds things along considerably. Again, from experience, I can tell you if somebody delivers paperwork to the front desk at the office, it is not going to, just be dealt with immediately. Chances are they are that's one of 300 documents being received by the front desk. It's going to have to be imaged. It's going to have to be routed to the correct caseworker. So, even though one would think, well, I can just take it into the office and bam, it's going to be taken care of. There's going to be some lead time there. Okay. So again, it's much faster if you're able to upload that document, because it's going to go, it's going to go straight to that record, and the caseworker will be alerted much faster that document's available. So the contact information, now this is from the 2019-20 LIHEAP season, but it hasn't changed. Okay, so it's the same three coordinators that have been here for a few years now. Holly Burkhart, my boss, Judy Letso, and myself. And of course, there is a LIHEAP phone number as well that is available if people need specific information, need an application sent to them, etc. Are there any questions? Yes.
So you were saying for LIHEAP, you can get just one amount. So if you get, say you get $1,000 for LIHEAP, and then you turn around and apply for prices. So for LIHEAP, you got 600. You apply for prices, and you only get 400 more. Is that what you're saying?
No. I apologize if I caused that confusion. They're two separate pools of money. So where the difference would be, if you get that, for instance, we'll back off the amount of money. So let's say they get $500. That's all they get for the cash piece. They can't. That doesn't get modified upward. That's all they get. They're still eligible for the prices. So whether you get the minimum $300 for cash, or the maximum $1,000 for cash, or anything in between, you are still eligible for that crisis pot of money. It's just it's a separate pot of money. That's the takeaway there. Other questions? Yes.
I have one question. So I have a client who has no control over the heat in her house. So it's a large building. They have tenants, obviously, like there's 5 floors. It is controlled by, I don't know who's controlling it. She does not have a thermostat in her house. She's on the bottom floor. So she uses electric space heaters to keep her place warm because it's freezing, because the 5th floor tenants claim that they're roasting. Can she get help even though she's does that make sense? Like, she has no control over that heat, it's the landlord in that building with all the apartments that's controlling the heat source.
So the main heat source is actually controlled by somebody else. She's not actually paying
Yeah,
for that
she has
main heat
no
source.
control over it, but her electric bill is skyrocketing in the winter because it's so cold on that first floor. The fifth floor is getting roasted out and has windows open. Like, it's a big building. It's weird. All the heat, obviously rises.
That's going to be a very interesting case. What I would advise is that she absolutely submit an application,
Okay.
and I would suggest perhaps attaching a note to the application explaining the situation, because this is going to be one of those situations where you're going to have conflicting policies, to be honest. But I would definitely suggest submitting an application.
Okay.
Okay. Other questions?
So if somebody doesn't have the computer, to get the application, just make the phone call.
They
Mail-
can
The
call.
application will be mailed to them.
They can do that. They can also just, if they have the means to come by the office and pick one up, then they can do that as well.
And the office is where?
It is the Cambria County Assistance Office. That's at 625 Main Street, downtown.
It's the old department store building, is it?
No, it's a newer building. It would be across from Dollar General.
Okay.
And yes,
So follow up on the other person's question. In cases where someone contacts our agency, for instance, our society, and their heat is included, their utilities are included in their rent,
yes.
they can still apply and explain the situation with some documentation or something.
It's worth a shot, because when we get into situations like that, where the responsibility lies for heat, it gets a little muddy. As a general rule, if you're not responsible for your heat, or any portion of your heat, you're generally not going to be eligible for the benefit. However, heat included with rent, that may be a situation where you're still technically responsible, even though it's included with the rent, because you're paying for part of it. So this is where I definitely encourage those individuals to apply so that can be exempt. Again, there's some policy in there that can kind of go one way or another, but I would always err on the side of submitting an application. The worst we're going to do is say no, right? And it may be just that something else needs to be clarified. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. I'm in Altoona, so can't go through Cambria County. What's in Altoona?
You would go through the Blair County Assistance Office. So that is, and that's another thing to take away if you're from outside the Cambria County. If you go to that county assistance office, so Somerset, Blair, Bedford, Center, same thing. Yeah.
There were people there.
No, Center would have Center. So every county has their own assistance office, or in some cases, multiple assistance offices. They all manage LIHEAP from their offices. So this is, of course, the contact information for my office, but every county has its own, and in fact, like I said, some of the more populated counties, like Philadelphia, Allegheny, they have they may have 10 or 15 different assistance offices that somebody can go to. So yeah, you do have that option. You have another question? Yes.
So sorry, the information you gave us, this criteria, is it still the same moratorium across the board, still 12
That is a statewide, yes. So the information that I gave you is statewide information. That is, the only thing that's really different would be the individuals that you would reach out to for assistance. And yes,
Sorry, more of a technical question. We've had some people working and filling it out online, but then were unable to sign electronically. What do you advise?
there is an option to essentially we can send something out for them to physically sign. So we would see that on our end and send something out to them if that were the case, if it doesn't allow them to sign. So that is an option. They can come in. We do try to call the client when possible. So it is important, to have that contact information on the application. If not, we will mail them a form to sign.
Thank you.
Other questions? Oh, yes. No, LIHEAP was a one-time program. As far as I'm aware, LIHEAP was a one-time thing. It's not going to be an annual thing, and it closed at the end of October. Of course, with any program, I can't say for sure, but my understanding was the way that it was explained was it was a one-time program. Yes, ma'am.
Along that line, I understand there was a pooling project, that was a pilot project. They qualified for it, they got LIHEAP. Is the pooling project gonna be available this year?
That would be something that I believe is going through the weatherization program or us directly. So we weren't handling the pooling directly on our end. So that would be outside of my wheelhouse, to be honest. Other questions? Okay. So what I guess what I would close with is, like I said, regardless of where you are in the state, there is going to be a local assistance office in that county that will be able to assist you with LIHEAP. The standards are the same statewide. One important thing to note, as was mentioned, is that you want to go to the county of residence. Okay, I'll give you a perfect example of a living situation where this might cause some confusion. So for those of you that are local, if you're familiar with a town like Windber, Windber sits in Cambria and Somerset County. Any way you slice it, Cambria County office is going to be closer. But when you apply, you're going to be processed by the office that of the county that you live in. So if you live on the Cambria County side, it's going to be Cambria County Assistance Office. If you live on the Somerset County side, you're going to be handled by the Somerset County Assistance Office. Okay, so it may be convenient to drop off your application in the Cambria County office because it's so close, but that application is going to have to be sent to Somerset to be processed. Okay, so keep that in mind as well when we're talking about other counties, that you are going to be in a situation where you really should deal with the county of residence. Okay? Any other questions before I close? Yes.
This one comes from online. Are there any future plans
the amount of help and lacking in people given the current.
That is a great question. What I would say is that these guidelines are revisited every year. Okay, so this is why you will always see the 2022-23 season, 23-24 season. These are actually revisited every year. A lot of this, also is handled by the federal government as well as the state government. So all of this is basically just, it is always a new season, a new season, a new season. And this can be the same for things like supplements. So for instance, during the presentation, I had mentioned that people who had received benefits previously for the last season received supplements. This is not always the case. There are going to be years where no supplement is received. There are years where they may provide supplements. The dollar amount of that supplement may change. That's another reason it's very important that the applications are accurate, because there might be specific qualifications that allow those people to get a supplement. But it does change every year, and it is revisited every year, and there is some flexibility there as far as what the state and federal government can do based on those supplements that could arrive later on, even outside of the season. So as far as specific future plans, right now the information that we have is the information that we have. And so that, these are the numbers and guidelines I would go with at this time. You can never count 100% on anything, staying the same or changing, but this is the information we have right now. Any other questions? Yes.
So just to note, since October 1st, food stamps went up to, SNAP benefits went up to 200%, they're not gonna wanna use their income on their application for using SNAP benefits, because then they'll be able to apply.
Well, that's going to depend on the household. That's going to depend on the household, because
If they're at that 200% rate, and London's at 150, how are they gonna determine?
well, and that's where they're going to have to decide which route to go. And that's, I mean, if their income's going to change, and that's another important note here, is that all of these programs are very, very much separate.
Very much what?
Separate. So SNAP program, medical assistance, TANF, all the other programs, in addition to LIHEAP, they are not, a person can apply for everything on a single Compass application, for instance. Not really a paper application, but on Compass they can apply for everything. But qualifying for one, they're using different deductions. They're using different guidelines. So, for instance, using SNAP as an example, there are things like an earned income deduction that might be used, that may throw off what's being counted for the benefits. So I again, if somebody feels that they want to apply, I would encourage them to apply. If they're using, they should use whatever income they feel is going to be the most advantageous to them. If their income has gone down, then I would submit new income. If their income is low, and it's already there, and that's going to make things easier, they can use that. And, as long as that income is, it is correct and it is, honest, that then there's not really an issue. It's just a matter of, it is the rules and regulations that we follow. And, they're looking at what's going to be advantageous to the consumer. So, if your income is getting lower, then absolutely submit that lower income. Other questions? All right. Well, I think we're good then. But again, if you need any help, you can call Cambria County Assistance Office if you're in Cambria County. Otherwise, call your local county assistance office. They'll be more than happy to help you out, provide you with guidance. Every county has coordinators like myself that have a little bit more expertise on the program, but you don't have to deal with them exclusively. You just submit an application via Compass or on paper, and we can take care of the rest. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, for that great presentation.